Life has a strange way of teaching you lessons you never signed up for. Never in a million years did I think I'd be sitting here, writing about a decade of marriage like it's some kind of bargain bin therapy session. You go through life believing you truly know someone, trusting them, building a future together, until, out of nowhere, they drop something on you that makes you second-guess everything. I never imagined that person would be my wife. Not like this. You hear about betrayal, and your mind immediately jumps to secrecy, suspicious late-night texts, hushed phone calls, a kind of lurking deception. But not Ella. My wife of 10 years didn't creep around in the shadows. No, she put it all out in the open, as if she were doing me some kind of favor. She wanted an open relationship. Just tossed it out there like it was a completely reasonable idea. And I'm standing there, trying to process it, wondering if I'm the crazy one for thinking this is just flat out wrong. Wasn't marriage supposed to be about commitment? A partnership? Because whatever this was, it didn't feel like that. I'm just a regular guy, living what I thought was a regular married life. And now, I'm putting my problems out there for anyone willing to listen, not because I'm looking for attention, but because I honestly don't know what else to do. Maybe someone else has been through this. Maybe telling my story will help them, or maybe it'll help me figure it all out. So, let's start with the basics. My name's Brad, I'm 38, just your average guy. I've been married to Ella, she's 35, for the past 10 years. We met when we were young, full of energy, and back then, everything just felt right. We had this connection, this spark, and for a long time, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Ella was everything I ever wanted, smart, funny, beautiful. And for years, things were good. But a decade is a long time. Life happens, people change, and somewhere along the way, we started losing that edge. I won't lie, we got tired of each other. Not in a bitter, resentful way. More like, we just settled into a routine. 10 years of sharing a bed, a bathroom, bills, groceries, and everything in between, it wears on you. The magic faded, and before I knew it, our closeness had all but disappeared. At first, I brushed it off. Life gets busy, jobs, responsibilities, the usual. But then months went by, and it felt like the bedroom had turned into a no-man's land. And when we did try, it felt forced, like we were just checking off an item on some unspoken to-do list. I won't lie, there were nights I'd lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was just how marriage was supposed to be after a while. Maybe we needed some help. So, I suggested Ella see a psychologist. Maybe there was something she wasn't talking about. Surprisingly, she agreed without much argument. I took that as a good sign, thought maybe this was the first step toward fixing things. But no. If anything, things got even weirder. I don't know if she actually opened up in those therapy sessions or just went through the motions, but whatever was happening, it wasn't helping our marriage. In fact, things took a sharp turn for the worse right after she started hanging out with Daisy again. And let me tell you, I've never liked Daisy. She's one of those free-spirit types who acts like she's got life all figured out. Every time she's around, I feel like she's silently judging us, convinced she knows better. She's divorced, which, honestly, isn't shocking if you've ever heard her talk about marriage. To her, the whole institution is outdated, just something people do when they're afraid of being alone. So when Ella started spending more and more time with her, I knew something was off. I just didn't think it would lead to this. Then one night, after spending the whole day out with Daisy, Ella came home, and right away, I could tell something was up. She had this look, like she was trying to mask her nerves with fake confidence. She sat me down on the couch, her expression serious, and started with, "Brad, I've been thinking about our marriage." The moment those words left her mouth, I knew. Nothing good ever follows a sentence like that. And then she said it. Straight-faced, as if it were the most logical thing in the world, she suggested we open up our marriage. My first reaction? Is this some kind of sick joke? But no, she was dead serious, laying it all out as if she was offering a perfectly reasonable solution. To her, this wasn't cheating. No, because in her mind, I'd know about it. She'd tell me who she was with, where she was going, like somehow that was supposed to make it okay. She threw around words like freedom and trust, as if that's what this was really about. I just sat there, staring at her, trying to wrap my head around what she was saying. My wife, the woman I built a life with, was sitting there, asking for my permission to sleep with other men. How was that not cheating? How was this supposed to fix anything? It felt like a betrayal, like she had already made up her mind and was just waiting for me to go along with it. I asked her why. Why now? Why this? She went on about how Daisy had helped her see things differently, how we were stuck in a rut, and how this was a way out. It's not betrayal if you know about it, she said. Like that was supposed to make it easier. Like being told your wife wants to be with other men is somehow less painful than finding out later. The whole conversation unraveled from there. I was too angry, too blindsided to think straight, and she was so sure she was right. We didn't scream at each other, but the air between us was thick with tension. Eventually, we just got up and went to separate rooms, like strangers in our own home. She was probably in the other room right then, texting Daisy, getting more ideas on how to turn our marriage into some kind of open-door policy. And after that night, nothing went back to normal. How could it? Ella, on the other hand, seemed to think the decision had already been made. Like the fact that I hadn't stormed out meant I had agreed to her insane idea. The weeks that followed were filled with awkward silences, unspoken tension, and her disappearing from the house more often. And it wasn't just Daisy she was meeting up with. She was actually going on dates. Real dates. With other men. I don't know why I let it happen. Maybe I was in shock. Maybe I was too paralyzed by the sheer absurdity of it all. One part of me wanted to pack up and leave, but another part, the one that had spent 10 years building a life with her, held me back. I'd watch her get ready to go out, dressed up in a way she hadn't in ages, wearing more perfume than usual, and just leave. Every time that door shut behind her, my stomach twisted. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to scream at myself. But instead, I just sat there, drinking, feeling more disgusted and trapped with every passing day. The thought of leaving was always there, looming over me. But I hesitated. Maybe it was the years we had spent together, or maybe I was just afraid of pulling the plug. Then, one night, after she left yet again, I realized I couldn't keep sitting in that house alone, stewing in my own thoughts. I needed to talk to someone who wouldn't just feed me the usual marriage takes work nonsense. So, I texted my friend Samuel. Samuel and I go way back, all the way to college. He's the one guy who never sugarcoats things, who always tells it like it is. We met up at our usual dive bar, a place with sticky floors, a beat-up pool table in the back, and dim lighting that made everything feel a little less heavy. When I walked in, he was already at the bar, drink in hand. Samuel's the kind of guy who always has a knowing smirk, like he's got life figured out while the rest of us struggle. He's never been married, never believed in it, really, so I wasn't sure what he'd say about all this. I sat down, ordered a whiskey, and let out a long, exhausted sigh. "What's going on, buddy? You look like hell," he said. I didn't bother with small talk. I just told him everything. How Ella had blindsided me with the open relationship idea, how she was already out seeing other guys, how I felt completely stuck. Samuel listened, his smirk fading as I talked. When I finally finished, he just shook his head. "Man, you need to get the hell out of that marriage. She's walking all over you. Divorce her. Take half, and move on." I expected that. Honestly, I wanted to hear it. But then, after taking another sip of his drink, he leaned in and said something that caught me off guard. "But before you do, why not make things interesting?" I frowned, not sure what he meant. "Look, you want to get back at her, right?" He leaned in, his voice lower now. "Don't just sit there like some doormat while she's out having all the fun. Go out. Pick up someone. Bring her home. Let her see what it feels like." I blinked. "You're saying I should just bring another woman home? Like, for revenge?" He shrugged, that familiar smirk creeping back. "Why not? She's made it clear your marriage doesn't mean much to her anymore. You're already thinking about leaving, right? So before you do, make her feel what you've been feeling. She's out there doing whatever she wants while you sit at home like a chump." He took another sip and added, "Take control. Hit her where it hurts." At first, I shook my head. "I don't know, man. That feels wrong. Like I'd be sinking to her level." Samuel chuckled, finishing off his drink. "Wrong? Come on, Brad. You don't have to go crazy. Just go out, have a good time. Show her you're not just some passive idiot letting this happen." I sat there, swirling the whiskey in my glass, letting his words settle. The idea was crazy, completely out of character for me. But at the same time, I couldn't ignore the way it made me feel. The thought of showing Ella what it really meant to have an open relationship, of making her feel what I had been feeling, it was tempting. Maybe Samuel was right. Why was I the only one suffering in silence while she went out and lived her so-called freedom? I sighed and threw back the rest of my drink. "All right. Screw it." Samuel grinned like he had just won a bet. "Now you're talking. Let's hit up a club and find you someone." We left the bar and headed downtown to one of the nightclubs we used to hit back in the day. It wasn't really my scene anymore, but tonight wasn't about that. Tonight was about taking back control. About proving a point. The club was packed, Lights flashing, music pounding, bodies moving everywhere. It felt like stepping into another world. A world where the last 10 years with Ella didn't exist. Where her open relationship nonsense wasn't hanging over my head. For once, I just wanted to forget. Samuel and I headed straight to the bar, ordering shot after shot, tequila, whiskey, whatever they had. It didn't take long for the alcohol to settle in, dulling the edge of anger and disappointment that had been eating away at me. And that's when I saw her. She was breathtaking, the kind of woman who stands out even in a packed, dimly lit club. Tall, brunette, wearing a dress that clung to her in a way that left little to the imagination. For a moment, I just watched, trying to work up the nerve to approach her. But after a few more drinks, I didn't need an excuse. I pushed through the crowd, leaned in close, and threw out some half-sober pickup line, something so forgettable that I can't even recall what I said. Not that it mattered. She smiled at me, and that was all the encouragement I needed. We started dancing, just two strangers caught up in the music and the moment. The more we drank, the closer we got. Her hands moved across my chest, my arms circled her waist, and suddenly, the rest of the club disappeared. The flashing lights, the people, the deafening music, it all faded into the background. I didn't care about anything except being right there with her. And before I even realized what was happening, we were kissing. It was messy, reckless, but for the first time in months, I felt alive. She pulled me even closer, the heat between us building fast. One thing led to another, and soon we were slipping off the dance floor, weaving our way through the crowd toward the back of the club. We stumbled into the men's restroom, laughing like kids sneaking around, caught up in the wild rush of it all. As soon as the door swung shut, she pushed me against the wall, kissing me hard, and just like that, nothing else mattered. We didn't waste time. This wasn't about romance, and it sure as hell wasn't about love. It was raw, impulsive, fueled by frustration, and the kind of recklessness that only comes when you stop caring about the consequences. And then it was over. We stood there, breathless, reality creeping back in as she fixed her hair in the mirror, a satisfied smirk on her lips. That's when an idea hit me. An idea that, in my drunken, vengeful state, seemed like the perfect way to get back at Ella. Leaning against the sink, I met her eyes in the mirror and said, "You know, my wife just asked for an open relationship." Her eyes widened slightly, her brow lifting. "Wait, you're married?" I nodded, smirking. "Yeah, but that's not the interesting part." She gave me a look, half intrigued, half unsure. "Oh." I exhaled. She suggested we start seeing other people. I didn't exactly give her an answer, but now I've got an idea. She folded her arms, leaning against the counter, studying me like she wasn't sure whether to laugh or walk away. "What idea?" I met her gaze, my voice low, steady. "Come back to my place." She tilted her head, waiting for me to continue. "Let's do it again." I let the words settle before adding, but this time, in front of her. Her expression shifted, first to shock, then amusement, and finally, something dangerously close to excitement. "You want to be with me, in front of your wife, just to get back at her?" I nodded, the thought alone making my pulse race. She's been out doing whatever she wants, expecting me to just sit at home and take it. So why not let her see what it feels like? "You're stunning, and trust me, she'll hate every second of it." She laughed, shaking her head, clearly entertained. "That's a first. No one's ever asked me to help get revenge on their wife before." I grinned. "There's a first time for everything." She considered it for a moment, then downed the rest of her drink, a mischievous glint in her eye. "All right, let's do it. Sounds like fun." And just like that, the plan was set. I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't stop to consider how this might blow up in my face. All I cared about was making Ella feel the same humiliation I'd been drowning in for weeks. We left the club together, heading back to my place. The whole ride there, my mind buzzed with adrenaline and liquor, replaying the image of Ella's face when she sees us. Part of me still couldn't believe I was actually doing this. But the other part, the one filled with months of anger, betrayal, and frustration, wanted this more than anything. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about taking control. About refusing to be the fool she thought I was. We stumbled through the front door, still tangled up in each other, my heart hammering in my chest. Not just from what had happened at the club, but from what was about to happen next. The house was dark, quiet. Ella was probably asleep upstairs. But I wasn't about to turn back now. Beatrix, as I had learned her name was, walked in with an air of confidence, like this was just another thrilling adventure for her. No hesitation, no second thoughts. We didn't waste time. We moved straight to the living room, sinking onto the couch, hands and lips tangled in a mix of passion, anger, and a burning need to prove something. Then I heard it. A noise upstairs. A door creaking open. Footsteps. Ella was coming down. For a split second, I considered stopping, playing it off somehow. But by the time she reached the bottom of the stairs, it was too late. She froze. Her eyes widened in shock, her face shifting from confusion to horror as she took in the scene. She looked between me and Beatrix, realization hitting her like a truck. For a fleeting moment, I almost felt bad. Almost. "What the hell is going on?" she shouted, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. But I didn't move. Neither did Beatrix. She didn't pull away. She didn't stop. And I just locked eyes with Ella, letting the satisfaction settle over me like a slow-burning fire. Her face twisted in anger, and she took a step forward, like she was about to pull us apart herself. But I lifted a hand, palm out, stopping her cold. My voice was steady, laced with biting sarcasm. "Free relationship, right? Isn't this what you wanted?" Ella's face drained of color. Her mouth opened like she wanted to say something, maybe scream, but nothing came out. She just stood there, staring at me with a mix of rage and disbelief. For a moment, I thought she might actually slap me. But instead, she just turned on her heel and stormed back upstairs, slamming the bedroom door so hard the walls shook. And just like that, it was done. The moment I had been leading up to, the revenge I never truly thought I'd go through with, had played out right in front of me. And the rest of the night? It was a blur, raw, intense, completely out of control. Reckless? Absolutely. But it was exactly what I needed. Beatrix and I didn't hold back. We stayed tangled up on that couch, letting go of everything, resentment, anger, the past 10 years. It was chaos. And somehow, it was also the best night I'd had in years. As dawn crept through the blinds, a strange calm settled over me. Beatrix got dressed, tossing me a playful smile as she slipped a small piece of paper into my hand. "In case you ever need a repeat performance," she teased with a wink. And then, just like that, she was gone. I stood in the living room, staring at the number in my hand, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Like I had finally taken back a part of myself. But there was still one last thing I needed to do. I walked upstairs, my footsteps slow and deliberate, stopping outside the bedroom where Ella had locked herself away all night. Pushing the door open, I found her sitting on the edge of the bed, eyes red from crying, her face a hard mask of humiliation and fury. She didn't look at me as I stepped inside. For a long moment, I just stood there, looking at the woman I had once planned to grow old with. The woman I had built a life with. But now, she felt like a stranger. "I'm filing for divorce." My voice was calm, steady. Ella didn't even flinch. She didn't argue, didn't try to stop me. Instead, she just gave a slow nod, her lips pressing into a thin, unbothered line. "Good," she muttered, barely above a whisper. "I'm happy to agree to that." And just like that, it was over. No fight. No last-minute pleas to fix things. I turned and walked out without looking back, feeling the weight of 10 years start to lift off my shoulders. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a brutal hangover and trying to process the whirlwind of the past 24 hours. The divorce, the insane revenge, the realization that my life had completely imploded overnight. It was a lot. But somehow, amidst the wreckage, one thought kept creeping back into my head. Beatrix. She had left her number. And for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about her. After staring at my phone for what felt like an eternity, I finally dialed. Maybe it was the need for normalcy after all the madness. Maybe I just wanted to see her again, without the weight of revenge hanging over us. I didn't really know. After a few rings, she picked up. "Hey, it's Brad," I said, suddenly feeling a little awkward. "From last night." There was a brief pause before I heard the smirk in her voice. "Yeah, I remember," she replied, amused but also a little hesitant. "What's up?" I hesitated, running a hand through my hair. "I was wondering if you wanted to grab coffee or something. Actually talk. Without everything else." She let out a soft laugh. "Coffee? After last night? That's a bit of a shift." "Yeah, well," I muttered, feeling a little embarrassed. "Last night was something else. Just figured we could talk. Like regular people for a change." There was a pause before she answered. "Okay. Coffee sounds good." We met at a small cafe near my place, somewhere neutral, where the insanity of the last day could feel like a distant memory. When she walked in, I felt an odd sense of unfamiliarity, like seeing someone for the first time despite already knowing them in the most profound way possible. The way we met was not exactly traditional. Now, here we were, sitting across from each other, both a little awkward, avoiding eye contact, stirring our coffees like they held the answers to life's biggest questions. Finally, she broke the silence. "So that was an interesting night," she said, flashing a small, sheepish smile. I let out a short chuckle. "Yeah, that's one way to put it. I'm not usually that guy, you know." "Neither am I," she admitted quickly, taking a sip of her coffee. "Honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be there." That caught my attention. "What do you mean?" She sighed, leaning back in her chair. "My boyfriend, well, ex-boyfriend now, dumped me a few days ago. We'd been together for a while, and then, out of nowhere, he tells me he's moving to another city. Said he didn't want to try long distance. So, I went to the club to blow off steam, to get my head straight." She shook her head, giving a dry laugh. "And then, well, you know the rest. I hadn't expected that. I'd assumed she was just there for a good time, someone who thrived on adventure. But hearing her say that, it made me feel guilty. She wasn't just looking for fun. She had been trying to escape, just like I had." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, meaning it. "Breakups are rough." She gave me a small smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yeah, they are." For a moment, we just sat there in silence, sipping coffee, watching people pass by outside the window. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both knew the truth. We weren't so different. Both of us had been blindsided. Both of us had made reckless choices. And now, here we were, sitting in a cafe, trying to figure out what came next. A quiet moment passed between us, and I figured it was time to be upfront about my side of things. "I told Ella I'm filing for divorce," I said, watching Beatrix's reaction. Her eyes widened slightly. "Really? That was fast." I let out a small laugh, shaking my head. "Yeah, I guess last night was the final straw." Running a hand through my hair, I admitted, I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. "She's been going out, seeing other guys, and I don't even know why I let it go on for as long as I did. But after last night, after what we did, I knew there was no going back. It's over." Beatrix nodded slowly, taking in what I had just shared. "That sounds complicated." "That's one way to put it," I said, echoing her earlier words with a tired smirk. "It's a mess, honestly. We were together for 10 years, and then, out of nowhere, she drops the whole open relationship thing on me like it's no big deal. I guess I should have seen the signs, but I didn't. And now, here we are." She studied me for a moment, her expression softening. "I get it. Sometimes, you don't see things coming until they hit you square in the face." "Exactly," I said, feeling strangely understood. For a while, we just sat there in comfortable silence, each lost in our own thoughts. I hadn't known what to expect when I texted Beatrix that morning, but I certainly hadn't expected to feel this odd sense of connection with her. She wasn't just some random girl from the club anymore. She had her own story, her own heartbreak. And somehow, in all the chaos, our paths had crossed at exactly the right, or maybe the wrong time. I felt something stir inside me, something I couldn't quite name. Sympathy? Maybe something more? I wasn't sure, and honestly, I wasn't ready to figure it out yet. Part of me was still reeling from everything that had happened, but another part wondered if this could turn into something real. So, I kept my thoughts to myself, sipping my coffee and stealing glances at her, wondering if she was feeling the same. Now, the divorce process is nearly over, and I can't even describe the relief. It's like a massive weight I'd been dragging around for years is finally gone. Looking back, Ella and I had been done long before she ever suggested the open relationship. I think I knew it deep down, but I was too comfortable in the routine to admit it. Now that it's almost official, I can finally breathe again, finally focus on things that actually matter. Like building something real with someone who respects me. Beatrix and I have grown close since that wild night. More than close, we've been living together for a while now. Yeah, I know it sounds fast, but sometimes life doesn't move on a schedule. After everything we both went through, being together just felt right. We had both been knocked down, and somehow, instead of staying broken, we helped each other back up. Not that everything has been smooth sailing. True to form, Ella tried to stir up trouble. At first, she acted like she didn't care about the divorce, like she was relieved to be free of me. But the second she found out I was with Beatrix, she lost it. She spread rumors, threw out nasty accusations, and even showed up at my place a few times, causing scenes. I think it finally hit her that I was moving on, and she couldn't stand it. But none of it fazed Beatrix, and honestly, it didn't bother me either. We were solid, too solid to let Ella's bitterness shake us. And that only seemed to make her angrier. From what I hear, She's been bouncing from one fling to another, parading a new guy around every few weeks, trying to fill some kind of void. I get it. She's searching for something. But the way she's going about it? It's not going to end well. Not that it's my problem anymore. I'm out. And that's all that matters. Now, it's been another 2 years. A lot has changed. And for the first time in a long time, life is going my way. There have been unexpected twists and turns, sure, but this time, they've been the good kind. First off, Beatrix and I got married about a year ago. It was a small, private ceremony, just close friends and family, nothing over the top. After everything I went through in my first marriage, starting fresh with someone who truly understands me felt like a breath of fresh air. And here's the biggest news. We're expecting a daughter in a couple of months. I never thought I'd be this excited to become a dad. But here we are, setting up a nursery, picking out names, preparing for a whole new adventure. It still feels surreal. Beyond that, I've kept myself busy by starting my own business. I'd always had an entrepreneurial itch, and after the divorce, I figured there was no better time to go for it. So, I launched a small home renovation company, kitchen and bathroom remodels, mostly. Got a small crew working with me, and business has been steady. It's been incredibly fulfilling to pour my energy into something productive. I love the hands-on work, and being my own boss. Turns out, it's better than I ever imagined. As for Ella, well, I remember saying I didn't think her lifestyle would end well. Turns out, I was right. Word around town is, she's dealing with some serious consequences. Apparently, she picked up something permanent from all those casual flings. Something that's not easy to treat. It's not something I'd wish on anyone, but it's clear her choices caught up with her. And it doesn't stop there. Rumors about her have been spreading fast in our small town. People talk, and from what I hear, it hasn't been easy for her. She's burned too many bridges, lost too much respect. I'm not celebrating her downfall. I don't take joy in anyone else's misery. But it does feel like things played out exactly as they were supposed to. I got my fresh start. And she's dealing with the outcome of her own decisions. Life has a funny way of balancing the scales, I guess. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe to the channel.